The fall of Qi was not glorious. There were no desperate last stands, no brilliant stratagems. There was not even an ending worthy of endless retelling. In 221 BC, this great Eastern power, which had endured for centuries, passed quietly into extinction. Yet what it left behind was not merely the memory of defeat. It left behind a principle. From that moment onward, unification ceased to be simply the ambition of victors. It became the unquestioned destiny of the civilization itself. Every dynasty that followed, whether mighty in dominion or confined to a fragment of the realm, was compelled time and again to prove a single claim, that it, and it alone, was the one legitimate orthodoxy under heaven. Only one kingdom remained under heaven, Qi. And so history came to be written in a single, seemingly inevitable line: Tang, Song, Yuan, Ming, Qing, dynasties arranged as though they were links in a predestined chain. This was the consensus, born in the aftermath of Qi's destruction, and the longest shadow cast upon posterity by Qin's unification of the world under heaven.
It has been far too long since you have graced this chat room with your presence. It is time for your return.
So, this was the final battle of Qin's unification.
Strictly speaking, it wasn't even much of a battle.
Wait, what?
Because Qi barely resisted.
Seriously? The last kingdom standing wasn't some giant bloody final showdown?
That's what people expect, but history usually isn't that dramatic.
When great eras truly end, they often end quietly. Sometimes it's just a city on an ordinary morning, slowly opening its gates.
So Qi wasn't scared?
Oh, they were scared. Just not of Qin, not at first.
Then what were they afraid of?
Getting dragged into the war.
So they stayed neutral.
More like they stayed on the sidelines.
Honestly, that doesn't sound too crazy.
At first it wasn't. Qi was rich, really rich. Lindsay was probably one of the most prosperous cities in the world back then. Merchants, salt and iron trade, massive workshops, wine houses, music, dancing, the whole thing. Even while terrifying news kept arriving from the West, people in Lindsay kept drinking, trading, partying, living normally.
So what made Qi so wealthy?
Commerce, salt and iron monopolies, handicrafts, entertainment, and the biggest trade network in the East. The richer a society gets, the easier it becomes to believe war happens somewhere else.
The world had been burning for years, but Qi stood outside the flames, robes clean, arms folded, watching from a distance.
Welcome back to the chat room.
Why didn't they join the other kingdoms against Qin?
Because they genuinely believed Qin wouldn't attack them first. Distance helped. Trade helped. And honestly, a dangerous amount of wishful thinking helped too. Plus, Qin had a famous strategy. Befriend the distant. Attack the near.
So they thought the fire would just keep spreading somewhere else.
Exactly. As long as their own house wasn't burning, everything seemed fine.
Han fell. Qi did nothing. Zhao fell. Qi still did nothing. One kingdom after another disappeared. Yet in Lindsay, the lights stayed on all night.
And when Wei asked for help, Qi still refused?
Yep.
Were they trying to preserve their army?
No, they were gambling.
On what?
That Qin could never truly conquer all under heaven.
Because nobody had ever done it before.
Exactly. When something has never happened before, people tend to assume it never will.
The real danger was never just the powerful enemy. It was watching your allies disappear, one by one.
So Qi isolated itself.
Not accidentally, they chose it. They were like people standing on the shore, watching ships sink far away. At first, the water looked distant. Then one day, they looked down and realized the tide had already reached their feet.
And by then, too late.
Way too late.
But why was Qin so powerful?
Because by that point, Qin wasn't really just a kingdom anymore. It had become a machine.
War machine.
A state machine. Everything worked together. Laws, roads, food supply, bureaucracy, military rewards, all aimed at one thing. And the terrifying part wasn't just the size of Qin's army. It was that no matter how many soldiers you killed, there was always another wave coming, and another after that.
Grain flowed endlessly from Guangzhong into the east. Weapons were forged day and night. Young men marched away in endless waves, and the richest kingdom in the east still believed the flames would never reach them.
So in the end, it really wasn't about bravery.
Wars rarely are. Most wars are decided long before the battle itself.
221 BC, Qin General Wang Ben marched south. He bypassed Qi's western defenses and drove straight into the heart of the kingdom, like a dagger thrust into the belly.
The Qi army couldn't stop him?
There was barely any real resistance. No allies to the west. No room left to retreat. Qi had already been strategically trapped.
So that was it?
That was it. No legendary final battle, no heroic last stand.
Only the prosperous city of Lindsay, quietly opening its gates.
A kingdom that lasted for centuries, gone just like that.
The fall of great powers is often quieter than people imagine.
Did Qi really not fight back?
History leaves almost no record of serious resistance.
And what do you think?
I think until the very end, they refused to believe two things.
Which were?
First, that Qin truly intended to unify all under heaven. Second, that standing aside is still a choice, and every choice comes with a price.
They just never imagined the price would be that high.
For the king of Qi, it meant the destruction of his kingdom. But for ordinary people in Lindsay, the answer was more complicated. While other kingdoms had already become graveyards, most people here could still go home alive. Qi may have been one of the last peaceful places left in the Warring States period. Destruction rarely arrives all at once. It creeps closer slowly, step by step, and people become very good at pretending not to notice.
Qi fell. All under heaven belonged to Qin. For the first time in history, China was unified. More than 2,000 years later, we still see this year as the beginning of a new era. But for the ordinary people of Lindsay, it was simply an unusually quiet morning. One they were completely unprepared for.
Catch you in the next one. So Baver.